There, I'm about to put the front end back together on this Jeep. I just put a Lock-Right locker in the front, and I wanted to discuss a little bit. You can see on my tag, I don't have any diff oil in there yet. I bought some of the cheapest stuff that the store had, which was still way expensive, in my opinion. And I wanted to discuss how I put oil up in odd places like that. This Jeep isn't so bad. You can actually get in here pretty easily. But what I like to do is pump it in. And I've tried using the two different types of pumps that they sell at auto stores. One has multiple pieces. You have to kind of it's orange, red. You have to hold the middle in your hand and then attach two hoses, but there's no way to actually lock those hoses in. The hoses both just slide in, which it'll usually work fine the first time, usually, but not always. And then once oil drips out and gets on it, there's nothing retaining those hoses. So you start pumping it, builds up a little bit of pressure, pops that outlet hose off, and just sprays oil everywhere. Hate those things. They're also pretty expensive for what they are. The other type actually threads onto the bottle and has a hose that goes down in there, and then the pump's just on top of the bottle, and then there's a hose that comes off. Those are cheaper, and I've found they work better for a period of time. But they too, once they're exposed to oil, the inside hose I've found slides off, which is really annoying because then it's down in your huge bottle and you've got to get some long pliers to get it out. It just drives you nuts. So what I do is I buy these. This was $11. I think it's half a gallon at Ace. And the top just unscrews, and then you fill it with your oil, and then this is a pump. It's a yard sprayer is what it is. So you pump it up and then you just spray it out. So I'm spraying it out just to make sure everything's clear and clean. And then on the wand here, you can unthread the end. That's what I usually do. And if you get a hose that slips on there, that's the right size, you can jam the hose on there, and then you have a more flexible hose to get up in places like way up. See, that's a drain right there. Where is the fill in this thing? There's a fill up here somewhere. There it is. All the way up there. And with the exhaust, you can see that any kind of a hand pump or anything would be a huge pain in the butt. A rear diff is pretty similar, where to fill it, muffler's right there, and there's just stuff around. So I have another one that I use for there it is, SAE 90. I use this for the transmission fluid in the Jeep. And this is what I'm talking about. I cut the wand a little shorter and just jammed some hose over it, so that's real flexible and gets up in there. With that transmission where it's at, that's pretty important. For the diff, I'm probably just going to plenty of access to the fill port, so I'm probably just going to leave the wand that way it is and just unthread these ends, because this nozzle is really just to give it a spray pattern, and we don't want a spray pattern. We just want to get the fluid out of that jar and into that pumpkin. All right, everything I said about unthreading this, disregard that. Just get a nice pair of clippers and cut this thing off. That nozzle unthreads. I didn't even take it off. I was trying to unthread this part. It must be epoxied on there, and that's just going to be a restriction anyhow. So by trying to unthread that, I kinked it a little bit, so I just went ahead and cut it. So yeah, as you can see, that's going to be a restriction. So skip what I said about unthreading any of this. Just cut that off. I like this cutter right here for that job. Works great. And here's the deal. Filled that up. You don't want to fill it up really close to the top because this pump goes all the way to the bottom and it displaces a pretty significant amount of oil. And so it'll, whenever you stab that in, it'll overflow. So you want to keep it down somewhere around the top mark there. Pump it up something like 10, maybe 15 times if you can. And then just stab it in the diff there. And it does have a lock right here on the handle, so you can walk inside and forget about it and let it pump all over the floor, just like every other thing. Spindle head grease for the knuckle. And this is how well it works. Pull the trigger and it fills it in. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this thing down and clean up my grease mess from the knuckle there, and then I've got to top off this knuckle. So anyway, that's how I do it. That's what this video is about. Good luck.